going on.
Thank you so much.
Feel like $1 million.
Shout out TMZ, you up?
Let me check out that rig.
TMZ stands for the Mayweather Zone.
How'd you find me, bro? I got my disguise on.
I love my TMZ family.
Welcome to TMZ Sports. I'm Mike Babcock with my best buddy, Lucas Ray Whitman. Lucas, NFL draft, and I'm feeling very sentimental today. Lucas, the NFL draft in full swing. Of course, the most shocking moment from the first round, it wasn't Shedeur Sanders in my mind not being drafted in the first round, but it was this moment right here, Lucas. Not that man right there, of course, Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner, went number 2 overall. It's that he went number 2 overall to that team right there, Lucas, the Jacksonville Jaguars, as the Jaguars, with just a few minutes remaining on the clock for your team, Lucas, the Cleveland Browns, who had owned the second pick, but they executed a trade, a blockbuster trade with the Jaguars. Now, make no mistake about it, the Browns got a real haul to just go back 3 spots. But there it is. You can read everything that was exchanged here. So the Jaguars, they get themselves a guy who is quite literally the first player to actually be drafted and revealed or called out as both positions, a wide receiver and a cornerback, Lucas. Like we said, he's the Heisman Trophy winner. Many people think he's the best player in this draft, period. So the Jags knew they wanted their guy, Lucas, and that's exactly who they went up and got. So now the question is, and we've addressed the fact that Travis Hunter plays 2 positions. What does he do in the NFL, though, Lucas? That is the question. Well, a little bit earlier today, I had an opportunity to speak with a guy that most people agree is the greatest wide receiver and really one of the greatest players that have ever worn a Jacksonville Jaguars uniform is Jimmy Smith. I actually had an opportunity a little bit earlier today to speak with Jimmy Smith. Now, nobody, as far as I am concerned, had any idea that the Jaguars were trying to move up. So now that they have pulled off this huge deal, and they do have a guy who could be a franchise player on both sides of the ball, what does Jimmy think about the deal? Here's Jimmy Smith.
I was extremely happy. But when I look at it, people complain about the draft picks that we got, that we gave up for him. I look at it, this is a two-way player. He's worth 2 draft picks. And for a team like Jacksonville, which we need star power, that's the only thing that's missing with our team. We need star power. And to get another weapon on the other side of the beach, Brian Thomas, and to get another weapon at corner for Campbell, for a defense, I think we're going to be in good shape. I know Trevor's happy. We beefed up the offensive line. So I'm looking for, along with the star power, to have we're going to have a good season this year, and I'm excited to have Travis in Jacksonville. The whole city is just extremely excited. We're surprised. I know this may have been in the works for 2 weeks, and the Jaguars front office did a good job at keeping it on the wraps so nobody would find out until draft day. I knew when Jacksonville made that trade, the only player that I could see us getting was Travis Hunter. So I got excited. I woke up this morning and said, "Good morning, Jacksonville. Good morning, Duval." And the response that I got on Twitter was unbelievable. Everybody's happy. The way I look at it, I think Jacksonville has won so far because we got 2 players in one.
Lucas, I think you're a perfect person to talk about this as a guy who is a diehard Brown supporter, and I think you thought yesterday that you would have Travis Hunter on your team now. You've got yourself a first-round draft pick. You got yourself a good player at 5. What do you think from both perspectives here, Lucas, Jacksonville and Cleveland?
What Jimmy says about being okay with giving up 2 first-round picks for Travis Hunter kind of makes sense. When you do think about him being able to play on both sides of the ball, he's kind of 2 players in one.
Yeah.
As far as it goes for the Browns, I'm going to have to wait and see what we do with these picks.
Right.
I don't necessarily love Andrew Berry's draft history when it comes to young prospects and evaluating them. It is a rather interesting move from a first-time GM on the Jaguar side with a 34-year-old James Gladstone just being like, all right, we're going out swinging, we're getting our guy.
Yeah, these young guys are crazy, Luke. These young GMs are not like your old school, crusty old GMs who don't want to pull the trigger on moves. That was a move.
Yeah, and I think ultimately what it came down to is the Browns weren't in love with Travis Hunter for one reason or another, or they felt like they had other pieces that they need to fill with that pick. And when you can possibly get another high draft pick next year with a number of quarterbacks who could fill a huge need for that organization, I do see it as a positive, but right now it's not nearly as fun, especially when I'm running around the office yesterday saying we're getting the unicorn, we're getting the Shohei Ohtani of football.
Shohei Ohtani, yeah.
And now it's going to be like, well, I'll get back to you next year.
All right, Lucas, moving on to that really scary crash involving 18-year-old basketball phenom Elijah Arenas, of course, the incredibly talented son of former NBA star Gilbert Arenas. Lucas, now everybody knows how serious this accident was. We showed yesterday some a terrifying, shocking video. I don't know the adjective you'd like to use, Lucas, but this video from the scene around 5 a.m. Thursday morning as Elijah, you see him right there laying in a puddle that has been formed from the fire hydrant that was spewing water all over the place. Thankfully, they were able to get him out of the Cybertruck, which was obviously on fire there. Lucas, he was in bad shape. I mean, he was rushed to the hospital and he was in a medically induced coma. The good news here, Lucas, is that now we have got some positive news regarding Elijah's health.
Yes, Elijah Arenas is now out of the coma. Great. And the family, according to the statement, is describing this as remarkable and hopeful recovery for him. And right now he is still intubated. But they did point out there was a really emotional moment in the hospital when he opened his eyes and he was able to write down and asking to make sure that no one else was injured because of this incident. And that just goes to show the kind of heart that this 18-year-old kid has, that, you know, he's currently in the hospital, so much going on, so many questions surrounding his future, you know, on and off the court, and he's looking out for other people. Yeah. And another thing that I do want to note from this statement is the family, they clearly saw the video that we posted yesterday, and they wanted to specifically reach out to the people who sprang into action, those good Samaritans, and quite frankly, those heroes who helped out Elijah during this moment, because the statement from the Good Samaritan is just so descriptive and goes to show how serious this was and how they needed to step in. They say, I remember hearing banging on the car window, but I couldn't see anything because the smoke was so thick. That's when I realized someone was inside. I tried to break the window, but it couldn't give. Then I saw one of the windows was cracked just enough, so we used everything we had to bend it and pull him out. The car was on fire. We just knew we had to get him out. Wow.
I mean, it's harrowing when you hear that, and you know, as great as the first responders are, Lucas, it obviously takes them some time to get out to the scene. And when your car's on fire and the cabin is filled with smoke, obviously that is no exaggeration. It could potentially be a deadly situation for Elijah. And I think it's fair to say that they might have actually saved his life. And it sounds like from the medical update you just gave us there, Lucas, that he is on the road to recovery. I think, you know, basketball is obviously secondary. You just want the young man who's only 18 years old to be able to live a full life. And I think we've gotten nothing but great news since yesterday. Now, real quick here, and this does not mean that Elijah Arenas is in trouble, but a lot of people have obviously asked, what's the cause of this accident? It happened about 4:55 a.m. It is a 2-lane residential road in Los Angeles, in the Valley area of Los Angeles County. It's a 40-mile-per-hour zone. It's not very windy. It's pretty much a straight road. So you say, hey, how did this possibly, or what happened here? What caused this crash? Well, from our law enforcement sources, Lucas, they have told us that they believe that excess speed is likely the cause of the crash here. So they are looking into it. They're still investigating, but they think as we sit here and talk right now that this was caused by Arenas probably going a little bit too fast. Adrien Peterson arrested for DWI in Minnesota. Wait until you hear what the NFL legend was doing just hours before his latest brush with the law. Stay with us.
Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Lucas Whitman alongside the big dog. Michael J. Babcock. Well, draft night is usually a night to never forget for so many young prospects, but Thursday night was probably one that Adrien Peterson would like to have back.
Yeah, you're not kidding, Lucas, because Adrien Peterson found himself in handcuffs early this morning, only a couple of hours after, you bring up the draft, Lucas, literally attending the official Minnesota Vikings draft day party, where Adrien Peterson was hanging out with thousands and thousands of fans, giving his analysis on the different players who were taken. But things took a bad turn after the party. So, and we broke these details on the website earlier today. Adrien Peterson, around 3:20 a.m. last night, Lucas, was pulled over by a Minnesota state trooper as he was driving his Audi Q5. Now, the trooper originally pulled Adrien over for speeding. As you see, he ultimately took a mugshot because he was arrested for DWI, Lucas. So the cop says he sees Adrien going 83 miles an hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone, lights on, pulls him over, Lucas. As the officer is interacting with Adrien, he begins to suspect that he is under the influence of alcohol. Well, after some conversation, Adrien eventually relents to taking a blood alcohol test, Lucas. So he blows, and it shows that he has a 0.14 blood alcohol content. Well, in Minnesota, like in most states across the country, the legal limit is 0.08. Obviously, he was about 1.5 times that level. So the cop slapped on the cuffs, Lucas, and he was hauled off to the Hennepin County Jail. Now, Adrien did not spend much time there. He was able to bond himself out after a short time behind bars. But the reality is here, Lucas, he is now facing a 4th-degree DWI charge. So driving while intoxicated, essentially the same thing as a DUI charge. It's just a different state, different name for the crime. So not the first time that Adrien Peterson has had a brush with the law. This is a misdemeanor charge, but nonetheless, it's still a DWI charge. It is still something serious. It's still something that he's going to have to deal with in a courtroom here. So supposed to be a happy night for most teams, for the fans, Lucas, and it was for Adrien Peterson until it wasn't anymore. Belal Muhammad getting set for his first title defense. What's the difference between being the hunted as opposed to the hunter? We'll ask the UFC welterweight champion when he joins us next on TMZ Sports. Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Mike Babcock here. UFC 315 getting closer by the day. May 10th going down in Canada. And this guy right here returning to the octagon, defending that welterweight crown that he owns, that he holds. Of course, we're talking about Belal Muhammad taking on Jack Della. Again, May 10th. And we are so lucky to be joined by Belal right now. Belal, brother, how are you? How you feeling? Coming off the injury, a couple days away from the fight. How's everything?
Bro, feeling so good. Especially coming off that injury. It just gave me a new motivation. It made me remember how much I love this sport and how hungry I was before getting the belt. So now that I had the belt, now that I have the date and it's right around the corner, I'm excited, man. I'm pumped.
Yep. Physically, obviously you go through training camp. Sometimes you have bumps and bruises, but from an injury standpoint, Belal, feeling good 100% heading into May 10th?
Yeah, feeling 100% ready to go. Obviously, like you said, camps are hard, especially 5-round camps, championship camps. But I got the right team around me, the right people around me, where we take care of each other, we don't hurt each other. And I feel like the best version of myself I'm ever going to be.
That's amazing. Talk to me about the mindset going in, the approach, Belal. Obviously, like you said, you fought so hard and so long to get to the top of this mountain. Now that you are there, now you're not the hunter anymore, but you're more or less the hunted. What's the approach heading into May 10th?
My approach is not forgetting how hard it took me to get here, right? I'm not letting go of this belt. I'm not letting go of this throne. It took me the long road, and he didn't have to go down this road. None of these guys had to go down the road that I went to get here. So I always set myself reminders, right? When we went into that Leon fight, they didn't want us to be there. They didn't think we could be there. Nobody thought we would win there. So I just had that same underdog mentality. You called me the hunted. No, I'm still the hunter. I'm still looking for all these guys. I'm hungry for all these guys, and I'm hungry to keep winning.
You brought up how hard your road was and just how long it took for you to get that title opportunity when a lot of people, whether it be fans or MMA, quote unquote experts, felt like you deserved a title shot long ago. How do you look at Jack? Not saying he's not a great fighter, but do you look at him as being unworthy after everything that you went through to get your title opportunity?
I think just the circumstances, it made sense, right? He has this long winning streak. Shavkat pulled out, and there was another guy in there at the time. And now he's lucky because he has a champion that's willing to do that, right? When Usman was up there, he wasn't accepting the other guys, the hungry guys that are on the come up with long streaks unless they had 5 million followers. For me, I'm like, all right, he has a 12-fight winning streak. Let me fight him. Let me show you who's the better boxer. Let me show you who has the best hands in the division. So I think he's lucky and also unlucky, right? Because since he didn't have to go down that road, he didn't have to see what I saw. So now when he gets in there, it's going to be a nightmare for him because he's going to be in a place that he's never been before.
What do you anticipate? What's the scouting report on Jack? Obviously, you're coming off of wins over 2 guys who are known in the MMA community. What's the scouting report? What do you have to be careful for? Where do you think you've got an advantage over Jack? Talk to me about that.
I think I got an advantage everywhere. I think I'm better everywhere. He only has one way, one path to victory, and it's by, throwing his hands out there and getting a knockout. For me, I can knock him out. I could take him down. I could submit him. I could do whatever I want to do in there. He's going to go in there wondering what's going to happen. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to be the first person moving forward. I'm going to be the first person shooting. I'm going to be the first person punching. I'm going to be the first person kicking. And he's never going to catch up. And once I get my foot going, he's going to eventually break because they all break.
Get ahead of yourself here and May 10th. What fights interest you most out there right now as potential future opponents after Jack?
Obviously, Shavkat. Then you got Buckley on a long winning streak.
Yeah.
Even the fight this weekend, right? You got Gary and Pratis, who have both got hype. And I think the winner of that one will put his name in the mix. Sean Brady looked really good against Leon Edwards. Yeah. And I already got a victory over him. So I think when I beat him, people were like, oh, he sucks. But now that he's dominating, people are like, oh, maybe it was just an off day, but Belal beat him.
That's so great. Bottom line, I think, is there are so many exciting fights to make in the division. Belal, thank you so much for your time, as always, brother. Again, it's cannot miss. It's UFC 315, May 10th. Good luck, Belal. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, brother. Always appreciate you.
Coming up, the Titans get their man. Cam Ward goes #1 overall. Titans legend Chris Johnson weighs in on the new franchise quarterback in Nashville when TMZ Sports rolls on right after this.
With the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cameron Ward, quarterback, Miami.
You started with one offer from Incarnate Word. You are now the #1 overall pick. How does this moment feel to you?
It's special. God did everything for me. Him, myself, my family, and I'm just blessed to be here. I'm ready to get to work with the Titans, with my teammates, and I'm just ready to get the process going. We've seen you playing football, playing catch in the back all night long. You're staying loose. How ready are you to get to Tennessee and show them what you got? Well, I'm ready. That's all I've been dreaming for. It was an opportunity to play in the National Football League, and they blessed me with it. So I'll make sure they get everything I've got. Congratulations. Thank you.
Welcome back to TMZ Sports, Mike and Lucas. Lucas, of course, that was last night. Now, a lot of years there is some question about who is going to go #1. I think most fans expected, Lucas, that Cam Ward was going to be the guy. He was, by most people's accounts, the best, the most talented quarterback in this draft. And because of that, he ultimately is the first to hear his name called by NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell last night. You heard them talk a little bit about his story there, Lucas. You want to talk about a guy who had no sort of buzz coming out of high school, who goes to a small college in the San Antonio area before he ultimately balls his butt off and transfers then to a much larger school, the University of Miami. And now fast forward to last night. This is absolutely awesome, Lucas. So what do the former stars in Tennessee, players, their legends, think about Cam Ward being chosen first? Well, one of the best players that's ever put on that Titans jersey is, of course, Chris Johnson, the great running back. Well, a little bit earlier today, Lucas, we had an opportunity to catch up with Chris Johnson. In light of the Cam Ward pick, How's he think? What's he thinking? How's he feeling it? Did they make the right choice, wrong choice? Here's CJ2K.
Yeah, I think he can be. I wanted to see them go get Travis or whatever, but, we need a quarterback. They want to change the organization. And basically, I guess he's the best one on the board, so let's see what he can do.
How much pressure is on someone like this? You were there, I believe, when Vince came in. So Vince has been one of the guys that, was handed the keys as well. A lot of pressure for Cam coming in here to perform?
Yeah, I think anytime you're the number one pick, it's going to be pressure. So him coming in and just getting in early, studying, and figuring out what they want him to do, I think he'll be okay.
What's your message to Cam Ward, the number one pick, the quarterback of your franchise?
Man, just going to lead us the right way, and we got your back.
One big question is, you're looking at that jersey right there. Number one was previously retired by the organization because there was a fella by the name of Warren Moon who played for the Oilers and was an absolute superstar. It was a sweet moment today because the speculation over whether Cam Ward would get number one was put to rest when our friend of the show, Warren Moon, showed up to his press conference and handed him a number one jersey. So really, really cool moment.
Yeah, very cool on Warren Moon's part to do that here. He recognizes Warren obviously played for the Houston Oilers. It's the same organization, different city. He said, hey, look, Cam Ward forging a new path for this organization, and he should wear number one. So that was absolutely awesome. All right, we are out of time, Lucas. Look, first half of the draft in the books. We know that these first picks get the most attention, but the reality is you can really find some incredible players. The best player ever is probably a sixth-round draft pick in Tom Brady, Lucas. So we'll see what happens this weekend with the NFL draft, who gets drafted, who doesn't. We'll have a bunch to talk about on Monday. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you then.
I'm a lawyer.